Good afternoon again, and welcome back to this Friday edition of Newsmax Now.
It is Friday. It's good to have everybody with us for another hour of Newsmax Now. A scandal is rocking the 19 kids and counting family. The Duggars, the oldest son, was investigated for molesting young girls. We'll have more on that story coming up. But those emails that have haunted Hillary Clinton, well, they have now been released, at least some of them, related to the attack on Benghazi. The first round of emails related to Benghazi released this afternoon. The emails span 2 years of her time as the Secretary of State. Some Republicans believe these emails will shed light on how Hillary handled the Benghazi attack when she was Secretary of State. Clinton has also come under criticism lately for using a personal email account hosted on a server that she owned and operated inside her New York home. The man wanted for a quadruple murder in Washington, D.C. is now in custody. 34-year-old Darren Wint was tracked down at about 11 o'clock last night by a fugitive task force. Wint was apparently with a group of people traveling in a pair of cars, and they were caught in the northeast quadrant of Washington, D.C.
We got to a situation where we could successfully take them down, and we did our standard practiced vehicle pin maneuver, and we were able to safely pin the vehicles, both vehicles, and place them under arrest.
Police say they narrowly missed Wint in Brooklyn on Wednesday night. He's accused of killing Sava Savopoulos, his wife Amy, and their son Philip, as well as the family's housekeeper. Wint's been linked to the crime through DNA found on pizza crust they found at the crime scene.
President Obama, speaking at a synagogue in Washington, D.C. today, called for the establishment of a two-state solution. The president says it's necessary for the preservation of Israeli democracy and would be a reflection of Jewish values. The president also denounced the rise of anti-Semitism and defended his nuclear deal with Iran. ISIS has now claimed responsibility for the bombing at a Houthi mosque in Yemen. The blast happened earlier today in the capital city. Security officials there say more than a dozen people were hurt in that attack during morning prayers, and a second explosive was found nearby, hidden inside a shoe. Scandal in the Duggar family. Josh Duggar, the oldest of the 19 Duggar children, has now resigned from the Family Research Council. The decision comes after he admitted to being investigated for molesting teenage girls. 12 years ago, when Josh was 15, his father contacted police. Josh had admitted to fondling at least 5 young girls, and some of his victims may have been his sisters. Josh has apologized in a Facebook post.
All 6 of those Baltimore police officers arrested in the death of Freddie Gray have now been indicted by a grand jury.
As our investigation has continued, additional information has been discovered, and as is often the case, during an ongoing investigation, charges can and should be revised based upon the evidence.
Well, the charges against all 6 are similar to those initially filed by Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who we just heard from there. The most serious is against Cesar Goodson Jr., charged with second-degree depraved heart murder. He was the driver of the police van that had Freddie Gray inside when he broke his neck last month.
Just one day left for the Senate to do something about the expiring parts of the Patriot Act. Senators are expected to act today on a bill that would end the NSA's bulk collection of phone records and replace it with case-by-case searches. That bill was already passed by the House, which has left for the Memorial Day break, but it isn't clear if the votes are there to actually pass it, which leaves open the possibility that the NSA will completely lose what some call valuable surveillance tools.
Well, there is outrage among some Scrabble fans. Some are in a tit, the classic word game, updating its dictionary to include the words like ridic, short for ridiculous, tweep, which is a person who uses Twitter, I think, and shizzle. Not really sure what that one is for. Collins, the maker of the Scrabble dictionary, waded into the long-running language debate. Should the dictionary dictate how we speak or how we reflect our language?
You have any idea what those mean?
I would never venture a guess. I'm glad to be your guest, nor would I venture a guess on those words, as I muffled the first thing I'm trying to say here today.
It's Friday, JD.
That's true.
That's right. Let's talk about the issue with the Hillary Clinton emails. We know she said that earlier this week she was imploring the State Department to please go ahead and release her emails. We now know some of them are out there, and we asked the same question to Rick Unger earlier. Since so much has been talked about with Benghazi, do you think there is anything new that we will learn from the release of these new emails?
I think we will learn a couple of things. I think number one, based on reports we've seen and a kind of priming the pump by the New York Times, we will see how Hillary got the real story, allegedly from her longtime operative Sidney Blumenthal, but then how she went along with the leftist line. It has long been my contention that President Obama and those of his ideological ilk sought to use the tools of community organizers, not on our streets, but on the Arab street. In other words, to set up a self-fulfilling prophecy about this fiction of a YouTube video leading to a spontaneous riot or demonstration in Benghazi. That is just so much flapdoodle. And what Hillary is, I'm trying to be very polite.
That's a new word. I was just sitting there thinking.
Can be on Scrabble, but
I
believe what will happen now with Hillary, she'll try to kick the dust up. Believe me, the Clintons are so inherently political, and they have a team of apologists within the media that now I think Hillary will try to put this behind her when she'll say, yes, we knew this, but I thought the president had better information. And yet, when I came to this conclusion, I was unafraid to see these come out. She'll try to spin this like this may be politically incorrect too. She will spin it like a whirling dervish. Whoa, probably politically incorrect. However, that is what she will do, and she will have many in the press who will try to cover for her. But of course, the interesting dynamic is, as our friend Michael Patrick Flanagan has pointed out, the current scrutiny of Hillary is not coming from Republicans and the right. It's coming from the left and a whole lot of Democrats who say, you know what, we better find a different nominee. So this is going to be yet another episode of when Democrats attack each other, and we're going to see over the long term just how deep the loyalty or the make good factor will work with the dominant media culture saying, you know, we beat up on Hillary so we could get Obama elected as president in 2008. It's now, quote, her turn. That will be the subplot at work here.
Now, we know there's going to be some testimony coming up in the Special Select Benghazi Committee. The Washington Post talking about Sidney Blumenthal. He's been subpoenaed to address that panel. They are talking about the questions that should be asked of him. And one of those is whether or not he had business interests in Libya and whether he would have benefited from his access to Hillary Clinton. What do you think?
Well, again, I think what you will probably see, especially from Sidney Blumenthal, nicknamed Sid Vicious, for his years of rabid defense of the Clintons, you're going to see him come in and do a kind of pseudo-masculine variation of, what difference does it make? How dare you question me? And he didn't earn, despite the bespectacled countenance here, this is a guy who is a real street fighter and a real manipulator, so one can see him try to set up his own amen corner to come in to be as contentious as possible with the committee. Again, hope he has an amen chorus in the Washington press corps to get him off and to turn the page for Hillary. In any circumstance, with a document dump that I believe will come this afternoon, expect the Clintons, as soon as the Sunday talk shows, to say, this is old news. This is old news. And Hillary did what she had to do. She pointed out the inconsistencies, but once the administration decided on a line, do you want her to be disloyal to the president? And they will try to spin a virtuous profile of Mrs. Clinton in what is perhaps the most odious of circumstances in which she found herself. And there is a long line of smelly, questionable, downright improper actions that have been taken over the years, but she's gotten away with it before, and that's what they'll try to do again.
All right.
So what do you got going on tonight?
Well,
Newsmax Prime.
More on this. We're keeping an eye on
I'm
the
sure
emails.
you are.
We're also, it's very interesting, last night, Jim Woolsey, former director of Central Intelligence, gave what I believe to be the most cogent defense for keeping the Patriot Act. We'll be talking about that with my old colleague, I can't be pulling a Rick Perry here. Pete Hoekstra.
You have a lot going
It is
on.
Friday.
You're a very
It's got
busy
Pete
man.
And
Thank
years ago, Steve Martin asked the question, or made the assertion, comedy isn't pretty. Tonight, can comedy be conservative? Conservative comic Evan Sayet certainly believes so, and he will be with us tonight on Newsmax Prime, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific.
All right, the Woolsey interview is up right now on Newsmax.com. Please do check it out.